Hi guys, welcome back. We're back with another video, and in today's video we're going to talk about buy zones and sell zones, level counts, and how you can identify your peaks better. All right, so right here we've got an anticipation or analysis rather that I had on GU. As you can see, this is the daily time frame, and what I wanted to see for right here was a buy setup from this order block that I had marked down right here. So I'm going to take you to the charts so that you may understand the reason why I had this idea in mind. All right, so just on this, what we can identify is if we looked at the market structure, the price was moving in an up phase because we can see higher lows, right, and higher highs, lows, and higher highs, right? So we had identified that we were in an up phase. As you can see, we had a higher high right there. So I wanted price to come back to this area, give me a buy setup, and I wanted to see a move to the upside. All right, so I'm going to take you to the charts so that you may understand, my thought process and the reason why I had this in mind. All right, so as you all know, we like looking at a chart, without no indicators on it. Indicators, which are our EMAs, will always, guide us into, trading in line with the market maker cycle. All right, so if we go to the higher time frame, that's one thing I always, talk about, right? Your higher time frame, right? You always need to understand your higher time frame. All right, so if we go to the weekly time frame on GU, what we can identify is we are in an up phase, right? As you can see, right, we can identify these higher lows as the market pushes up, right? Higher highs and higher lows, right? So our recent price action, right here, this is in our weekly time frame. What we can actually identify is we had a demand zone at this area. Why? If we can zoom in right here, right, we can identify that this was the area responsible for the break of this structure, right, giving us that new higher high, right? And as you can see, price made its way back there. Now, remember, this was my analysis on GU, and if we move down to the daily time frame, this is what I wanted to see, right? So right here, right, this was my buy zone, and as you can see, that did not work out, right? So I'm going to talk about how you can actually work around, the market when you see such happening, right? So the only time that I'm actually going to, be so sure of a demand area, right, or an order block working out. Remember, we are trading the market maker cycle, right? So if you miss the peak, if you're not so good, with catching your peaks, you can always trade after a peak has been locked. But how do you do this? You need to really understand what's happening in your higher time frame. So I was looking for, a reaction to the upside from this hidden base that we had right here, which is an order block in the daily. But as you can see, price went for the order block below, right, which still makes sense. And as you can see, price has been moving up, right? So this happens a lot in the market, right? Does this mean you need to blow your account? No, you need to have rules, right? One of my rules, right, if I'm looking to buy at a demand area, is if the market had been going down, let me try and change the color so you guys can see it better, right? So if the market had been going down, right, let's say this is our demand area, market is pushing down, right? The only time, right, that I am sure that this is a valid order block, right, or if this area is, an area where price can actually move away from, right, be it a demand area or supply area, what I want to identify is, right, these highs are very important for me because I want to see price move away from the demand area, break the structure, and I can look for trades to the upside or opportunities or setups to the upside, right? So as we are trading the market maker cycle, in this example, I would want to see a peak, right, a level, a consolidation, another consolidation, and a reversal, right? This is our market maker cycle, level 1, level 2, and level 3. But before we think of trading this and we think of counting our levels, we want to understand what's really happening in our higher time frames. All right, we want to understand the structure. So in this case, this is what happened. Price moved here from this demand area, and this was not going to come as a surprise, as you know, the higher time frame was very clear with where the direction of price was headed to. As you can see, high price came back to that order block. Right. So as we go to our H4, we can actually see how price made it down to that area. Right. So we are going to go to our EMAs, right? So we can get a clear picture of what really happened right here. So as you can see, we don't really want to go back too far, but from this peak formation right here, I love peaks at the 800 EMA in our H4, right? Because these are very powerful peaks. If you can, do your back testing, these are very good peaks, right? So as you can see, as price went back to this area, right? Remember I spoke about how I want to see a break of structure to the upside before I'm convinced of an order block or a peak. So as you can see, price did break these previous structures, giving us a higher high, and then went back to that order block. Now from that level, what we can identify is we can identify level 1 push into a consolidation, right? As you can see, into a consolidation. We can also see another push the next week, right? A mini pullback, and we can see level, sorry about that, can identify level 3. Remember, we spoke about the market maker cycle. So this is just to understand what the market is doing, right? Fine, right? That's our levels, right? That's how, we want to identify our levels and actually find trades. So as you can see from that peak formation, right, we identified another week of drop, right, into a consolidation. Honestly, not really much moves, right here, as you can see, not really moves, just consolidation, right, for like a week. All right, so we can also identify another drop giving us level 2, right, into a consolidation, and then the last level, right, into that 800 EMA, right? So this was going to be a peak formation, with a high probability of actually price turning, because if we look at it from a clear chart, this is what we can identify. Right? Price is back at our demand. Price is giving us a new high, right? So if we're going to push up, our safest take profit in this case would be this high, right? We can use these previous swing highs as targets as well, right? So if price does not respect that, we can also, see price getting to this area. At this point, if we look at the weekly, this is what we can see, right? We are working with this, right? This is the area where you can keep an eye on. As you can see, this supply area, price did react to it. So I want to see if price will push into these areas. Will price react, or will price continue going up? At this point, we don't know. Remember, we trade setups, right? We trade setups. So we'll always have to wait and see what price does. Okay, so if you're looking at that, right, if we go back, so this is our peak formation, right? As you can see, a W formation to the upside, right? So remember, as we are looking for trades, or as we are trading the market maker cycle, what we want to see is very simple, right? We want to see a peak formation, a level of rise, into a consolidation. We want to see a stop hunt, another level of rise, into a consolidation, a stop hunt, and another level of rise, peak formation. Now, it does not always work like this, right? You will not always find a pair which will give you stop hunts all the way, right? Sometimes what we will have is we're going to have straightaways. What do I mean by that? A straightaway, basically, if this is our Asian session range, right, instead of price giving us a stop hunt below, price instead will just continue moving up, something like this, and price continues moving up, right? So in cases like these, when we have prices giving us a straightaway, the only trade that I actually look for, right, because most of the times this price is already above the 50 EMA, right, the next trade that I actually like keeping an eye on is a pullback, right, which retests this Asian session high. And I also want to see the 50 EMA around that area, right? If it doesn't get back there, I can still take a trade at that 50 EMA, as that's our intraday trade, right, where we've got a bounce on the 50 EMA. It'll be better. So as we go to the charts, this is what we can now see, right? Let's take it to the H1. Right? So this is where our peak formation was, right? For those people who struggle catching peaks, in this case, you had an idea of what's happening in your higher time frame, right? From just a clean chart, you understood what is happening, right? It is now then easier for you to trade your market maker cycle, right? So as you can see from this area, we had a peak formation, right? If we go to our M15 time frame, if you can just go back, this is what we had, right? We had a nice W formation just below that Asian station range. As you can see, first leg and our second leg. So we had that first day of rise. Fine. What are we waiting for the next day? We are waiting for a peak formation, right? What are we waiting for? A stop hunt low rise, meaning when we have peak formation and we have ADR times 1, that's your level 1. The next day we wait to see a stop hunt low and rise, meaning we want to see a peak formation, right, below the Asian range, right? But as I said, sometimes what you can see is instead of price giving us a stop hunt low rise, price will give us a straightaway. And what I like taking is a move back, you know, to retest that high. And I also want to see the 50 EMA, which is this light blue EMA right there. And I would like to see a peak formation set up, and you know, I can trade that. So this is more on the intraday trading, guys, right? Okay, so as you can see what we had the next day, right, we didn't really have a stop hunt immediately. As you can see, price went above that 800 EMA, gave us a peak formation. Remember, I don't really like, or I don't really advise you guys take such trades, because remember, from level 1 we do not want to counter. So we do not want to take any trade that goes against the peak, right? We want to trade away from the peak, right? Do not trade into the peak. So we had our peak formation right here, and then as you can see, that played out. And the next day we had on the okay, this is the next day, right? From our level 1, this is the next day, we actually had a peak formation on that 200 EMA below the Asian range. Right, so as you can see, we also had a 5200 crossover. Remember, a 5200 crossover tells us that we are about to get into level 2, or we are into level 2. So as you can see, we had a peak from that 200 EMA, right? Not really a clean W formation, but as you can see, that is a peak. If you go to your shorter time frames, right, you can, like your M5, you can actually, you know, get a better setup from there. Okay, so as you can see, as that played out, right? So remember, you're not forgetting about your higher time frame. If you go to your H1, this is what you have. So that trade right there would have been our H1 50 pounds, right? After the lock of this peak from this 1350, that was our H1 50 pounds, right? So you are not going to be confused. You're not going to confuse yourself and try go short right here, right? Because you understood your higher time frame. Right, you understood your higher time frame, and you know where price was heading to. Right, that is the most important thing, and why it is important for you to understand your higher time frame and understand where price is heading to, and understand what happens at your supply and demand levels. Right, it will be easier for you to count your levels and avoid, you know, rookie mistakes that most people who trade BTMM go for. All right, so if we go to our H1, that's what we had. We understood what we are looking for. All right, so let us continue. Right, so the next day, as you can see, we didn't really have anything below, right, the Asian range. Right, the dealer just held it at that 800 EMA. Nothing really much, not really a move. I wouldn't really say I had, you know, a level of rise like from the, you know, first ADR that we had. Right, nothing of that sort. As you can see, nothing here. There was no setup on this day. Even though price did, you know, continue going up, we didn't really have, you know, any movement right here. There was no setup for me on this day. But on the next day, as you can see, we had, you know, some movement of price. As you can see, a straightaway. Right, price just gave us a push up, and after price gave us this push up, remember, we are above all the EMAs at this point. Right, so as you can see, price then gave us a pullback, right, to that Asian station range, as you can see, and we also had the 50 EMA right at the same point. So what we can identify is a W formation right there. Right, we can identify a W formation. Those are the type of trades that I'm talking about, as you understand, you know, where the market is headed. So that was a nice trade for you to take right there. So if you go into your H1, right, this would be very simple. This is your level 1 into a consolidation, right there. And you had your level 2 rise right there, which you had the opportunity to actually take advantage of. So that's your level 2. Right. So as you can see, as we went back to that area, right, we can identify the level 2 rise. Right, we then had a peak. On this day, we didn't really have something clear. As you can see, we did have, a stop hunt below, but there was no perfect W formation. There's nothing like a perfect pattern in the market. It does happen here and there, right? But as you can see on this day, if you had taken this trade as a W, right, remember our rule is if trade does not show profit within 2 hours, rather scratch out. All right, so this, if you took a trade on this, remember you need to have rules. This was definitely a scratch out day. When price then went back to this 200 EMA, it was later into the day, into Asian session. I wouldn't trade GU around this time. All right, so as you can see, the next day we didn't really have a move. All right, we didn't really have a move. Price didn't really give us a stop hunt into London session. Excuse me. Right, price just went and played around, these highs. Right, and then we had a drop right here, right, which hit the stops definitely. Not really, we didn't really have a setup on this day. Right, so you need to be very selective when it comes to trading. Right, so the next day, which was a Friday, as you can see, price didn't give us a stop hunt below the Asian range. Remember that is something that we would expect. Right, remember, always keep an eye on your higher time frame. So if you go to your higher time frame, this is what you could see. Level 1 into a consolidation. Level 2, you'd understand that you are now in your level 2, H4 level 2, because we also saw, a 5200 crossover, which tells us about that we are in level 2 or about to get into level 2. Right, so you do not get confused. Always keep an eye on your higher time frames. All right, so from that level, as you can see, we had a straight away on this day. Right, price actually pushed up. Right, and then as you can see, price went back to challenge that high, right, that Asian session high, and we also had the 50 EMA inside. Right, not really a W formation given there, just a V formation. Close above 13 EMA, and then we could identify another push to the upside. All right, so as you can see, all that's been happening here is price has just been giving you setups, intraday setups on these 50 EMAs. This is also another setup where the dealer comes and gives you the peak formation on the 50 EMA at the 50% point of your Asian range, right there. This is also another type of a setup where the 50 EMA, the second leg, is given at at the end of that Asian session range, right, and the dealer continues going up, right. So counting your levels shouldn't be really that hard if you understand what's happening in your higher time frame. So this would be your level 2, and this would be your last level push. And as you can see, price is back at this peak right here. All right, so we're going to wait and see what price gives us at that point and see if we can get a reversal. Right, we'll wait and see if we get a peak formation, and we'll look for trades to the downside. So price hasn't really reached that area yet. I would want to see what price does when price gets to this area right here. I would love to see what price does so we can, look for trades to the downside. Remember, we can also identify in the H1 time frame the 800 and 200 crossover. This basically means that we are probably in our level 3 and the first leg or second leg is being formed. Right, so we'll keep an eye on that and see how that goes. All right, guys, hope you learned something from this video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Do check out our free Telegram channel. Find the link in the description below.